Welcome to another episode of the Need for Speed Most Wanted Mod Showcase, and welcome to the first episode of the Need for Speed Most Wanted Mod Showcase that's now using, of course, Shadow Play, which means I can now run this game at a much nicer, cooler frame rate and a much more smooth, pleasant experience, and even at 1080p, because that's how bad my other card was. I couldn't even run this game at 1080p with like solid 60. Now though, I easily can, so thankfully for that, we can make these better. Anyways, in today's episode, we're going to have some two-seaters today, two-seater sports coupes, and the first of them up is the Mitsubishi FTO, requested by the Real Emile. Replaces the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 8, so you replace one Mitsubishi with another. I have to believe this is the GP version R. It doesn't actually say, apart from the GP at the back, but it does seem to have the resemblance of the GP version R, and as from what I'm aware of, it is a Juiced 2 model rip, so the car itself comes from Juiced 2, hence why these body kits here look like they all come from Juiced 2, which I think they do. You can't put regular spoilers on the car, so the modder just gave spoilers to each one, which is kind of a shame, because I'm not a huge fan of that particular spoiler, but the rest of this body thing I actually quite like, so it's kind of a shame that happened. The rest of them are okay. Like, I don't like the front of this one, and this one here is actually alright. I don't mind it that much. It's a much nicer spoiler, but I'm still like the body style of this one the most, so that's the one I'm going to go with. There's one hood option, and that's just to make the hood exposed, and there is roof scoops and wheels and all that sort of stuff. Of course, I'm going to obviously paint it, which I'm going to give a... Let's give a bright blue like this, just because why not? And we can, and it does have vinyl support, but as you can see, it's not mapped correctly. That is, however, actually the body ones aren't that badly not aligned properly. They are, of course, not aligned properly, but it's not as bad. Maybe just because they're big vinyls. But yeah, there is one exception, which is why the vinyls work on this car. This veil side... Oh, I thought it was just a thing that replaced just parts on the car. No, it's a whole color thing. This veil side livery is a special just vinyl, which replaces the blacklist vinyl that's used on Earl's Lancer Evolution, which means there's a special vinyl design for this car. So you actually get something that's unique. It actually goes... the modder went his own way to replace the vinyl that's used by Earl to give it something completely different. And I actually quite like it for that particular reason. Anyways, though, we're going to head over, of course, to our testing track from that we've been using from the very start, of course, being Petersburg, where we're going to give the car 3 flying laps to go as fast around the track as possible. Now, I haven't actually tested any of these cars out for this particular episode, so the way they perform is going to be a complete mystery to me, so hopefully they do good, and judging by the looks of things, the FTO might do fairly well. Its speed doesn't seem to be particularly too bad, its handling is on point, not the best that we've seen, but certainly got enough grip and finesse to get around the corners. I think this could do a fairly decent job for what it's trying to do. And yep, this thing does seem to have 6 gears, so we can push it up to roughly about 213, interestingly enough. Now, one thing that I've always said throughout the series that I really should be doing, but never actually doing, is getting rid of those at the start. Simply just because, you know, there's been many occurrences where I've ran into them and kind of killed a lap, and yeah, I'm going to be making sure every time now, from now on, that on the first lap, I make sure that those go away. But yeah, we should have a car that's, you know, mid-pack, maybe? If I get a really good lap time out of this thing, this car should be capable of just that. It's quite a nice-looking mod, too. Engine note doesn't seem to change. It seems to still be the same engine note that we saw from the Lancer Evo 8, so that's one thing that still remains the same. Performance-wise, oh yeah, it just seems to be doing really good. In fact, 217 now. So it does still have all the quite speed. I'm not sure if it just has the same kind of driving characteristics as the Lancer, but If we I'll have to find out, of course, when we go over to the lap times on the leaderboard to see if it is about the same as the Lancer. Ooh, that last corner there. Okay, definitely not. That was a 53.82. That's a bit higher than mid-pack, I'd want to say. That's actually pretty damn decent. I'm very surprised. But this car drives very nicely. It's very well poised, modeled and ripped quite nicely. I like that there's, you know, this special kind of custom vinyl that replaces the blacklist vinyl. Which, of course, it only replaces it if you have this car. It doesn't actually replace it altogether. If you get rid of the mod, it'll replace with the standard blacklist vinyl if you get rid of this car mod from your game. But yeah, I kind of like that it actually the person actually went their own way to kind of do that, because you know it adds a bit of uniqueness to it, because you don't see that very often. So, but there you go. We had a poor first corner, so that was only a 55. That was actually, interestingly enough, a 55 flat. Ease up a little bit and just gun it, hopefully keeping it all together. Nicely cut through there. Very good corner, very good line. Kept all the speed going. Very well done. Around there as quick as possible. We managed to keep it over 180, which I think is pretty good. Alright, can we get any more than 217? Nope. Just a bit glimpse of 217 again. Ooh, that was close, but we managed not to hit it, so that's good. A couple lines were a bit screwed, but this could be a good potential to perhaps maybe best that 53.82. And slow down a little bit. And yeah, that was a much better corner for that last one compared to that 53.82. But was it a better lap? No, actually. 53.98. It must have been those couple lines that I didn't have right that kind of hurt it. But 53.82, nonetheless, is a very impressive time for this car. It does better than the Lancer it replaces, so definitely, if you like the FTO, this might be worth looking into. Next up we have is the Lotus Europa S. This is the Europa from the mid-2000s. It had a short lifespan from Lotus, but it was supposed to be like a grand tour car or whatnot, but it never really saw the same kind of praise that the likes of the Elise or Exige did. And only because it wasn't selling very well, it didn't last a particularly long time before they decided to exit. Body-wise, this is of course a Need for Speed Carbon conversion, so it has the body kit from Need for Speed Carbon, although that doesn't look proper. And you know, some of these other things are just to kind of make the wheel arches so they look like they kind of stick out better, so it matches the body kit a little bit better. This actually can have different spoilers. Don't believe it can have any different hoods. Roof scoops, I believe, is also a thing it can have. And it can also have vinyls. And since this replaces the Lexus IS300, interestingly enough, you can put Taz's vinyl on there. Not mapped perfectly, but, you know, still does decently well. I'm actually not going to paint it the same color. In fact, course, yeah, I'm gonna use that blue that I was planning to use for the FTO, but of course didn't actually stay with it. The Europa S was also requested by the Real Emile, so he got lucky this time around with the randomizer giving him 2 cars that he requested to show up. So that'll probably make him a bit happy. And away we go with the Europa S, and we'll have to see how it does. Now, yep. Excuse me, as I expected, the Europa also does not have an engine sound replacement like the FTO, so it sounds just like the IS300 that it replaces. Has a good like little boost off the line, but then kind of relaxes after that. Ooh, the handling though. Oh wait, hang on, actually. I don't know, it kind of felt slow at first, but then the further I turn in... Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, it looks like this car just might be nothing more but a car body replacement, and then the performance kind of may carry over from what was on the original IS300 mod, so... Looks like this one might be a bit of a letdown, just like the car was in real life, apparently. But, we'll have to see. Maybe it might still do better. I have no idea. Again, we're going to take care of those, get that out of the way. As well as this sign, because that we don't really need that sign. Anyways, let's just hope that we can at least get a somewhat reasonable lap. At least the best that I'm going to be able to do with this car here. Now making a reasonable lap will not have to involve hitting that corner, which I kind of did, or hitting that wall, I should be saying, sorry. Oh, that was poor. That was bad. That was pretty damn bad. I could easily do that a lot better, but I didn't. Ooh, that was close that time, and at least this time I didn't actually hit it. Alright, just kind of go straight through. Just to kind of keep up a little bit more speed, try to get a little bit back after what has been happening earlier. We had like a bit of a slide with it going left, which means there's a bit of a slight Scandinavian flick. But so far, this isn't turning out to be particularly very well. It just looks like it's another case of a car that is just meant to replace something if you didn't particularly like it, but will perform just about roughly the same. Wow, 59.99. I don't think I've ever quite done that before. Now, of course, this car can actually do better, but I've just kind of, botched quite a few parts of that previous lap, so. Alright, there we go. Kept it away from hitting the wall this time. Much, much better. So hope that should help. Again, fairly close, but kept it off. I guess maybe if I want to think about it, the handling may feel a little sharper than the IS300, just maybe a little bit, but apart from that, it doesn't seem to feel like it's a notable change. It just kind of, it doesn't seem drastic enough. Alright. At least the good news is that this lap will have a much better result. Oh, 58.25. Okay, maybe not so more drastic than I was hoping, but hey, it's still better than the 59.99. I don't think this lap is gonna best what I just did because of that last corner, just doing that fairly poorly. So I'm gonna have to hope that this last attempt I can at least nail all the rest of the corners, which is now not gonna happen. So I might as well just keep going and finish it up here. But yeah, I do believe this mod is a fairly early mod, so I wasn't expecting anything really spectacular from it. Nonetheless, all right, yeah, I'm stopping it here because there's no point now. So I wasn't really expecting anything too spectacular from this car, but it's kind of a shame that it at least didn't have any kind of different performances. Even if it had replaced the Lotus Elise and kept all the stats from that, it would have been a fairly pretty good car. But that wasn't the case, so, ah, well, you can't win them all. Anyways, the final car we have here is a Porsche. It is the 2017 Porsche 718 Cayman S. I have no idea why Porsche decided that adding these kind of numbers to the current versions of cars these days is necessary. I think it's kind of silly and honestly kind of stupid at the same time. But I don't work at Porsche, so you really can't do much with body wise. There's a thing to have like a little spoiler, and you can obviously change the wheels, but apart from that, not much else. And one of the more common things that you can make up for it, you can actually put some stripes on, or not just stripes. You can actually put some vinyls on the car, and they're mapped quite excellently. There just doesn't seem to really be any problems, with the exception, I guess, of maybe a couple small things. But you'd have to have a very keen eye to notice that, I would imagine. So we'll give it something like this, yellow and black, because it looks nice. And we'll run with that. Very questionably, this does not replace the already existing Cayman S, which you think it would, because this is a Cayman S. Why not have it replace the Cayman S? And this instead replaces the Audi A4. A bit of a head scratcher, but whatever. And because of that, it sounds exactly like an Audi A4. None of these cars have any different engine sounds from what they replace. So that's a bit of a letdown. This is the only car that was not requested by the Real Emile. This one, in fact, was requested by nlgzrgn, the creator, of course, of the extra options mod that I've been using for the longest while, because it's the mod that's helped me be able to test all of these cars on their own without a second car just kind of driving around and falling way behind, because, you know, I put it on the easiest difficulty just in the hopes that it gets out of the way, but which it doesn't exactly do all the time. But thankfully, the extra options just allows me to get rid of it altogether, which means that I can do these as a proper time trial thing, which means it works a lot better. And it's a really good thing too, because it's just it got really annoying trying to have to deal with them. Speed-wise, the car does seem to be fast. It's pretty quick on its toes, good acceleration, and a good top end. Handling-wise, it leaves a little more to be desired. It isn't overly terrible or anything, but it definitely feels like a bit understeerish. So it isn't gonna wow you, but at least I would say it's still probably a little better than the Europa S, because the Europa S did actually kind of feel a bit heavy when it came to it, which I think was probably just because it uses the same handling as the IS300 did, so that could have had a reason for it. But at least the Cayman at least feels precise, and you know, and it doesn't. The handling doesn't particularly feel heavy. It just feels like it's gonna understeer. But thankfully, nothing too terrible though. And of course, I forgot to get rid of those things again. I love how I make such a big deal about how I'm going to have to make sure to get rid of those, and then by the last car for today's episode, I've already completely forgotten about that. Lovely. I really know how to keep to my word sometimes, except I don't. That was quite a nasty reaction from that jump. The car just kind of got crooked and looked like it was almost about to kind of go on two wheels at one point. Nevertheless, it didn't, so that's the good part about it. But you know, because this doesn't actually replace the Cayman that's already existing, I might just do like a video one day where I just face Baron's standard Cayman with my 718 Cayman here, and you know, try to make sure what I do is give the performance of the cars about what they should be. Try to put the same kind of parts and just see which one does better. So that might be a video idea I might do. So yeah, at least this car has got a good top end, so it does still pull off a very impressive lap time of a 54.88. In fact, that's actually very good. It's still about slightly over a second back on the FTO that we had, but it's, you know, I believe this wouldn't put this Cayman too far off from the original Cayman, in fact. So you know, at least get a bit more preference to which one you'd want. Whilst I prefer the handling of the original Cayman, I believe this Cayman does go a little bit faster to kind of make up for it. Now, unfortunately, I believe this lap probably won't best that lap time that I had set. Ooh, especially if that happened. That was pretty close, but it did. But thankfully, I kept it off. And with that, let's see where it was. Probably not as good. Actually, no. It was actually a little better. 54.60 despite that. Nice. I guess that last little section with just coming off the freeway was just really well done. So I guess that may have made up for some lost time. But anyways, 54.6. Very, very impressed with that. So yeah, honestly, this episode was fairly well. No car was particularly terrible. The Europa kind of could have had a little bit more to desire, but at least it wasn't absolutely dreadful. It was just not particularly very well. The Cayman and the FTO, though, did fairly decently, so, you know, at least having 2 out of 3 that do a good job is something that I can at least live with. So, leaderboard. And now over to the leaderboard, and the fastest car of the day. In 54th place is the Mitsubishi FTO, doing a time of 53.82 seconds. Okay, never mind. I've completely forgotten. This makes it one of the faster cars that does replace the Lancer Evo 8. Not the fastest. We've got the 406 Taxi that still remains the fastest, but this becomes the second fastest. It's actually it did 5 hundredths better than what was previously the second best, which was the McLaren P1. So it's in a very busy, crowded field, just having edged out the Lotus Elise, GTA Spano, McLaren P1, Koenigsegg 1-1, Celine S281 Mustang Supercharged. Just a little bit back, though, on the Ford Model A, Skoda Vectra, Jaguar XJ220, and Opel Calibra. Further down, just a little bit into, where is it? I went past it a little bit. 61st place, there it is so not very far, actually, is the Porsche 718 Cayman S, with its 54.60 lap time, edging out the likes of the Renault Sport RS01, Honda NSX, Celine S7, Maserati Birdcage, and Porsche Carrera GT. Back, though, however, on the Mazda MX-5s and Celine S281. And if you're curious, the original Cayman S is an 83rd right now with a 56.03. And finally, if we go down to 115th place, we will find the slowest of the day, the Lotus Europa S, with a 58.25 second lap time, just a little bit down on the Porsche 911 Turbo S and Ford Fiesta Ken Block, but does slightly better than the car it does replace, the Lexus IS300, not by a lot though. So as I would expect, the performance is probably exactly the same. And it also beats out the Hemi Cuda, Dacia Grandero, Camaro ZL1 Elite, and the Subaru BRZ. So that's gonna do it for today's episode, guys. If you like the how this turned out with Shadow Play, you'll definitely be seeing it more. I tend to keep using it anyways. It's really fucking good. But thank you guys so much for watching. And of course, if you want to follow me on Twitter or Twitch, donate to my Patreon, or join my forum boards, all the links for that are in the description box down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.